Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Journaling on a Budget memory lane. So today we are going to work in the lap book side of our journal, and we're going to put the, let's set that out of the way. We're going to put in the card that we made a little while ago, and we had to let it dry, but this is going to go in the bottom, and then it's going to fold over to kind of hold things down and just give it a little extra look. And then when you fold it down, it only folds down a little ways, so it's not in your way if you're working with the lap book. But first, we are going to deal with the very first page here. Put this here, and hopefully I won't forget to put that on. We're going to deal with this very first little flap here. So we're going to make some slit pockets. I don't know exactly what people call them, but I learned this from Nick the Booksmith when I made my very first lap book. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find a piece of a picture to cover this, or paper, or whatever I decide. But I already have chosen a picture. I went through the circus book, just because I thought it's got such nice, bright, beautiful pictures that I really wanted to put one of these on that cover spot. And I looked at this one to start with because I really loved this side here. But we're only going to get a strip of it, and it's a little bit short for our little page here. And so I really thought that this may be a good one here, and it also goes with our spine that we put in here, so that looks really cool. And so this is the one that we're going to use. So we're just going to take this page out. And of course, we won't use the whole width of it because our page is not, our little flap is not that wide. But so then I have to decide like what part of the picture do we want on here. So we're only going to come down this far, so we could put it like this. That would really cut off the top. Absolutely, we don't want to raise it up. We want it to be down here. And then do we want to do this side, which the edge of the paper is here, so that would come out about this far, and we'd get the whole ringling. We wouldn't get Ringling Brothers, but, or we could put this side, and that would come right to here, and that would be like Ling Brothers. I think that we will do this side. So what we need to do is just measure and see how wide this flap is. And so that flap is 4.5 inches. And do I want to, let's get our depth height to, let's see, that's 8.5. So I think I'll cut the 8.5 first. I'm trying to think whether I want to leave a little extra, or if I want to make it the exact size. I could leave extra and cut it off later so that I don't have to worry about lining it up so well. All right, so we need 8.5 inches right from the very top. So, and let's put it on this side, 8.5. Oh, well, 8.5 is right here to this line. So I think possibly we will leave a little bit extra. I'm going to cut a little extra. And those trains more than, oh, it had 2 sides, so it's not the whole thing. I was just wondering what it said. It might be good for us to put in there. And then we want, was it 4.5? Always double check, because so many times I get things a little bit mistaken. So yes, that is 4.5. And so I'm going to do it just a little bit bigger than 4.5. And just a little. I'm not really adding anything, maybe 1/8 of an inch or something. But that way, if I don't get it perfectly straight, I can always trim it, but it's not going to be off. Oh, I got to pick up my pencil. I dropped it on the floor. So we are just going to not glue this down. Aha. because we're going to make this into the slot pocket before we glue it onto here. And because of that, I really do want it trimmed to the correct size, because those pockets are going to be on there. It is just a sliver, but, and then this was just at the bottom of the turquoise line. There. All right, so that is going to go on there just like that. All right, so now we're going to put pockets in this. And so what we're going to do is, I wanted to put 3. Should we put 3 or 2? I like 3. I like the looks of 3. So I think we'll put 1 right about here, 1 here, and then 1 right towards the top. But leaving enough room for our tags that we want to put in there to stick out, you know, to still have a place to be inside the book when we put them in. So maybe we'll do it right under ringling. Yeah, we'll put the slot right under there. So let's do that one first. And what I want to do is, okay, so I want the slots to come, let's see, should we leave a 1/2 inch on each side of the page? That would be a pretty nice width. And then that 1/2 inch, that's a good amount, I think. So we're going to do it a 1/2 inch from each side of the page. So I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to mark that so that all our pockets are approximately in the same spot. They may not be perfect. And again, like I say, perfect comes from factories. Handmade has its own little uniqueness. So we're not going to worry if it's perfect. We're just going to do our best to get it pretty in line, pretty straight. Alrighty, so a 1/2 inch on each side. And I always do 3 marks when I measure, because that way if I accidentally mark one in the wrong spot, I don't have a crooked line that I think is straight. With the 3 marks, it usually will tell you one of them's out of line. There, and there. So that's our 1/2 inch right there. Draw a line the whole way. That way, no matter where we decide to put that pocket, the line will already be there. One on the bottom, or actually it's really the top, is hard to see. There we go. All right, so we've got one there, and one there, and one there. And that's our 1/2 inch. Okay, so I decided that we wanted to come between here. So this first one is going to be 1 1/4 inches down. So that will be our first pocket. And that will give us plenty of room above the pocket to have the tag stick out. All right. So now I'm going to put that pocket in first, and then we'll decide where the next one and the next one goes. I think that will be the best because we'll be able to see it. So what we're going to do now is we are going to cut just a little bit of like a support for that slot. And so do I want it as wide as the whole page? Yeah, I think we do. So that's 4 1/2 inches. Let's cut this to 4 1/2 inches. Alrighty. And then I'm going to make it 1 inch. 1 inch tall. We're going to see whether we like that or not. Let's see. That is almost 4 1/4, so we will make this one almost 3 1/4. So this is going to go right here. So it is going to cover part of that up, but I think that that's going to be a good width. So let's just make 3 of those, because we're going to have 3 pockets. There we go. So now we have 3 of them. Oh, okay. And we are going to put this on here. And the first thing I am going to do, I'm going to trim them all down just a little bit. Not much, but I don't want it to come right to the edge of the paper. And you'll see what we're doing with this in just a second. Like I said, this is just a support for, it's a support for the opening of the pocket, just to make it a little more sturdy. And so we're going to glue it where that little pocket's going to be. So this is going to be right here. Yeah, I like that being just a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to round the edges. Just some little rounds, kind of a... And I love this punch. Every so often people ask me, it is a Becky Higgins, which I think that that's not necessarily the maker. I think Becky Higgins is probably an artist or something, but I got it at a garage sale or in a D-stash. I really don't buy much of anything. And I'll do all 3 of them so that they're done. I don't buy much of anything new, because I've had a lot of time to collect. So I've pretty much been collecting since I was a very little child, and I do still have things from when I was a child. But if they still work, why would you get rid of them, right? There we go. So those are going to be our pockets, and they're going to line up on here. So that one's going to be there, and then we'll decide where these last 2 go after we get this one on. I was going to make it right up there, but what I think it might look better if the whole ringling is there. So we're actually going to put it right there. And so I'm going to find the middle of that. The middle is about, let's do it from, let's just line the ruler up at the top. So let's do it at 1.5 with the little bit extra from the top of the ruler. So we're not going to move it much. Line that right up to the top. I guess that's a ways. 1.5. And, whoops, line that up with the top. Don't line it up with the actual mark. Okay, so because your rulers always have, most of them have that little extra, and what you need to do is you need to start at that mark. You don't start at the top of the ruler or your measurements will be off. But I'm going to use that top of the ruler just to, because it made it easier for me to measure that way. Okay, 1.5 and 1.5. Excuse me. Now we are going to just punch a hole in here at that mark, and so we're going to kind of center our 1.5 inch and our 1/2 inch up and down and put it right there. We're going to do the same thing on this side, which is all right. I'm going to look at it again because I think that's my mark right there, but I can't really tell. Yes, that is my mark. Especially since I want this picture, you know. I don't want to I don't want to mess up the picture. Alrighty. Now we are going to put this on here, hold it in place, because we're going to need to cut this. And I could have actually just done it on here, but to me, because I knew where I wanted them on the back, I wanted to use this as my guide. So I'm just going to come in here, line that up and give it a punch, hold it nice and tight so it doesn't move. Line that one up and give it a punch. There we go. And they're a little bit high, but it is the way it is. And what I'm going to do with these two is I'm going to make them all the same. So I'm just going to hold them on top of each other. Put my glasses on so I can see. There we go. There. Now they'll all be the same. All right, so we are going to glue this one on here, but before we can glue it, we have to have we'll glue it first, and then we will put our slots in. I'm going to move our book for a minute. Get that out of the way. And we're going to use this to cut our slots. I'm going to use a permanent glue stick. And grab my parchment. We'll get this one on here, then we can decide where we want the other two. And put those on also, and then we will cut the slots. So line those up. There we go. All right, now the other two. There will be one towards the middle and then one towards the bottom. Now the one on the bottom, we do want to make sure that there's enough room. Our slice will be here, and so we want to make sure that there's enough room to hold a tag behind there. So that's not bad right there. And so I think what I'll do is I'll put this one on, and then we'll just kind of measure and put that one in the middle, or maybe we'll just eyeball it. But yeah, we definitely want to have room for our tag, plus that's a cute little picture. So we're going to put that right about there. And I was going to measure, but I'm not going to measure, because it's going to look good whether it's perfectly even or not. And I'll punch the holes afterwards. So I think that I wanted this right about there. Alrighty, and then we will just do this one. In the middle, it will have space above it where the tag can tuck in and still have space to be on here, and space below it. So that's perfect. There is enough room for it there. And we'll get this ready. So these really are very simple little pockets, and they're really fun to make. So I'm going to put that one right about there. And there we go. All right, so now we'll punch the holes, because you want to punch the holes before you cut the slit. And we're just going to use our X-Acto knife to do that, and a metal ruler. So, because it's best to have a metal ruler or a wooden ruler with a metal with a metal edge on it, just so that you have something for your blade to run down. If you use just a plastic ruler, your blade will actually cut that plastic. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to cut a slit in here from this hole to this hole, and that will, or cut a line, and that will make our slit. So we're going to do it top and bottom, and you just want to line it up with the tops of those holes. And then just cut straight across from one to the next. And make sure that that's open, and yes it is. So now we come down here and we do the same thing at the bottom. And you really want to get as close to the edge of that hole as you possibly can. And there we go. So now we have these slits. And if you get too far down the edge, you just get a bump there. We don't have one here, but we possibly will before we're done, because sometimes I don't get quite close enough. But those, aren't they just cool? I really love those holes. Alrighty, so I'm just going to line this up with the tops of the holes, and we'll do these two. And then I'll show you how to glue it in, because you don't want to just glue the edges, because you want to have individual pockets. Oh, I went too far on that one. Kind of peeled up my paper a little bit. There we go. Usually when I get to the next hole, you can, you can kind of feel it with your knife. But like I said, see, this really isn't hard. There we go. There's that one. And finally, the last one. And then we'll get some, oops, I don't know what I'm doing here. I want to do it like that. And it is also easier to cut the center like the way I just did that versus cutting it from the outside. Cutting it from the outside, a lot of times I wind up outside where the hole is or too far down. So if you do it this way and just basically almost cover up that hole, you get the best line by putting your ruler on the hole side. So right there. There we go. So there are 3 slots. So doesn't that look really cool? I love those. Alrighty, so let's set those aside. And do I want to round the corners? No, I don't think I do, because it's going in the book, which does not have rounded corners. We might round it after we put it together. So this is our page. This is where we're going to put it, right here. And do we want to do anything behind it? I think maybe we want a little bit of tea dye back there, just so it's not so bright. So just a little bit. And just anything. You can use markers. You can leave it like it is. You could draw a little doodle behind there. I'm going to kind of go like this to kind of get the edges of the paper. And then I'll go in and just in that area put more. This kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Get the edge of the pockets and show me where those pockets are. There we go. And let's edge the whole thing. And these are pockets you could use for all sorts of things. You could put these like even on the front of a card with little things in it, or you could put it like inside a card and put like a gift card in there, because you don't have to do 3. And I'm just kind of doing this messy. You're not going to see anything but where it shows up through the window. and I kind of don't want it to be, you know, like super solid. So let's see how that looks. Oh, this one needs to be further over. I like the way that that looks, because it looks kind of messy, you know. Older things are messy. Let me get these ends real well too, just in case I don't get it glued right in exactly the right spot. I did not want to have, I don't want this tan showing through. So there, that should do it. Now we'll glue it on. And I think I'm going to use Fabri-Tac for this. So the way that you glue it so that you have 3 individual pockets is you're going to glue down both sides and across the bottom, and then above the slots. And that's the one thing you have to remember, not right below the slots, because that will glue your pocket shut. Or your slots will go up instead of down. You'll have to put your tags facing the wrong way. Okay, so this slot is going to be from there down to here. This slot needs to be from here to here. So we're going above. Is that the top? I'm sure it is, but let's double check. That's the top. Okay. So we're going above this slot. Which gives us room to have a pocket here, and above this slot, which gives us the pocket at the top. And then so it doesn't get tatty, above this slot and the whole top. So that's how you glue it. Try and get it lined up really well right from the start, and then give it a good press. So we've got it glued at the top, we've got it glued down the sides, we've got it glued above this one, so we have a slot there, down the sides, above this one, so we have a pocket there, down the sides, and across the bottom. And so there we go. Now we have a pocket here, and a pocket here, and a pocket here. And those pockets stop at their area. You can leave them just like they are and put something in the top that will go all the way down. It will show through your next slot. And then if you put something in the top that goes all the way down that goes too far, but not far enough to get it out here, it's just kind of a mess. And normally I don't, you know, if I'm going to do a tag that tall, I'm going to put my pocket at the bottom and do a really tall tag. So I do it so that the tags are all, you know, just a tag that is about this big. You know, that works. That's a very nice size tag for me. So before I do tags to put in there, we're going to want to let that dry, because we definitely don't want them to get down in there and stick. But isn't that cute? I love the way that these look. They're just one of my favorite pockets to do. And like I said, they're really cute in a card. You do a card with a really pretty background, put one of these in the middle, glue it so that if you're going to put a gift card in there, glue it so the gift card will stick out a little bit. And then just tuck a gift card into there. You don't even have to get one of those gift card things from the store. You can make your own. And so now we're going to put this one here. So this is going to be glued solid at the bottom, and we're going to fold it over so that it basically just kind of holds this back a little bit. Plus it's just a flip that goes a different way. You know, you really want lots of different kind of flips and flaps with your lap books. So this, I want this to be about 1/4 of an inch or a little more, the fold that's going to go over. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark there. Well, I'm just going to hold this flat. That's at 1.5. So I'm going to do that at, I'm going to go to 2. Whoops. 2 is orange. So that would be right here. That's why I put, because this is very thick. This is 2 pieces of fairly heavy paper and a manila file folder in the middle. So there we go. So that one folds that way, and this one is going to fold it's going to fold that way, like that. Now we've got a bit of a crack here, so I'm just going to use, and this is kind of a grayish color, but I'm going to use the tea dye because it's okay to me that it shows up for the fact of it's an old book. Things should be a little tattered and a little bit how do I want to say that? You know. So anyways, discolored, you know, that's not really what I meant to say. But, you know, things get a little discolored as they get older. And so, and that's why I like the tea dye. That kind of gives you, to me, when you look at those older things, that's the color that they are. They're kind of that tea dye color. Especially like if you see old tape that's yellowed. Okay, so this is going to go like this. So then that will fold over there and it will flat back this way. Okay, now I could put lots of score lines here so that it will like fold, you know, like, so I could fold it a little flatter, and then as the pages got bigger, bring it out. But I'm not going to, because I'm sure by the time we're done, these pages are going to wind up being at least that thick, if not more, where I might have to put another fold to bring it a little higher to give us more room. So I'm just going to leave that at the 1/2 inch. If we need to later, fold it so that it goes down further. What I mean is right now, you know, we've got this much space. And if I put a bunch of folds in here, I could fold it down, and then as we got thicker, I could just fold it at the next slot back in the next one. But I think we're going to wind up at least this thick, so I'm not going to bother. And that will keep it a little straighter, more solid there too. So we're going to put our tea dye here on the crack. And remember, you're not supposed to go over your book when you're doing this, especially as your sponge gets older, because then you just wind up with little bits of colored sponge on your paper. And be careful when you go to wipe them off, because remember, they do have color on them. I have put some pretty big smears in my paper by brushing the little bits that fall off your sponge. And I'm telling you this, and I'm still just continuing because I started it, so... Okay, so see, I've got little bits everywhere, so just be careful or blow them off. And this is all going to be covered anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you had a pretty light colored page there that was already done, it would be a little disappointing to get a big smear on it. Alrighty, so this is going to go here. I really kind of thought that I wanted to cut it out to see this part of the book, because that's where the books came from. But I'm not going to, because it would not be that solid, and it's not, you know, it's not that important. So let's see, we're going to glue this down like that. And I want to make sure I'm going to glue it down, and I'm going to fold it back like this so that it doesn't accidentally catch and glue to these pages. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting up there to glue this together. And I think I'm going to use tacky glue, and then we're going to be done for today. And I am going to put the bag of beans on it to hold it down and let it dry. I think that's right about where I want it to be. So there we go. But I think that these pockets are so cool. So I will get some tags in there after that dries. So we've got lots of pretty bright colors. I want to round the corners on this. Before I glue it down, I think I do. So where is my corner rounder? Here it is. I'm going to round these corners. I just like rounded corners better. I don't know why. It just seems softer or something. Just a little. I won't do it at the bottom because the bottom of the book is straight. But there we go. Yep, that's what we want. Okay, now this was stuck. I was going to say, I got it unstuck. I took it apart and I cleaned it out. Okay. And I do want to spread this because I want the glue to touch everywhere. And I don't want it just squishing out all over the place. I'm spreading it a little thick, though. I'm not scraping it right down to flat. Because this is a flap, so I really want it glued well because it will be opened and shut a lot. Whenever you open this side, you'll have to open this to do it. So I definitely want that to be glued on there really, really well. There we go, and I'm going to take a little piece of extra there. Okay, so line it up at the bottom. There, making sure that I'm not touching here. Got a little glue right there. There we go. So we've got just a little space between the top part and this, so it won't bind as we're using it. And it's glued down nice and solid, so we're just going to put a bag of beans on it. And again, I never remember names. I really apologize. I've been terrible at that all of my life, and the older I get, the worse it gets. But whoever told me to do this, it's a great idea. I just love this idea. Never thought of it before. So we're going to take a bag of beans, and we're going to put it on there. And I think I'm going to actually fold this back and put it on there like that. And that is going to hold that down nice and flat. The beans kind of will go over the other parts so that the weight actually gets there instead of putting something that's like a book that might get caught up on something else and not give you the weight where you're trying to get the glue. So anyways, there we go. That is our page for today. I really like the way that it turned out. And I hope that you enjoy it too. I hope you enjoy making those pockets because they can be used for so many things. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.